back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, everyone is flipping the hell out because Hitman added Linux to the operating system list on SteamDB. Right. Remember how that worked out for Mad Max? And Zed's not dead, baby. He hooked up with an artist from Myst and launched a Kickstarter that comes with a demo.
Steam's been invaded by digital Pokemon. So, Digimon? Wait, what the shit am I talking about again? And what's the deal with crazy people in the Elder Scrolls series? Someone's re-implementing the first one now.
Yep, Steam would like users to start buying Windows games again. That, or after so long after, not making a game, people at Valve forgot how to code. And Stainless Games say they do penguins. I'd believe that to be an admission of bestiality before it meaning Linux.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing this Nightmare Fuel all into Linux. We're doing it live, as we always do, joined every week by the man up north. He's not Santa Claus.
Hail Stan.
Hail Stanta. All right. All the way from Portugal.
Cray Christ.
Pedro Mateas with his Coors Light, sharing it with Shot Realm Dynamic. Again, joining us live, doing this Nightmare Fuel. It is a bit brilliant. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. I'm just going to start. Thank you, Pedro. You first infected Empty. Then Empty was like, yes, I had fun too. Thanks again, Empty. You were on the show last week covering for Jordan. That was awesome. Then it was like, it's only $3. So I also bought Dead Island, remastered Yellow Swag Dorito
Definitive edition.
Right. And 13 hours later. Okay. What's up, Jay Baby?
Oh, well, I quit. I'm done. Yeah, no, I quit my job. I gave a month's notice. So if anyone's looking for a pretty good sysadmin or a boyfriend, call me.
Single, ladies and gentlemen. Around here, Jordan quit his job, and I've been actively looking for a new one, at least something that pays slightly better. I don't hate my company. There's some times during the week that I wish I could, just come home and not deal with it, but they're really awesome people. I don't hate them all that much.
So what other shit do you have to talk about your employer, Pedro?
It's not my employer exactly. It's the other people there. Oh well.
Sure. And what company do you work for again?
There's one company that we might as well work for because we do own their mascot, and it's the horse.
Yes, the horse is looking to give some talks. It's looking to spread some knowledge. It's the Steamers Update. Halloween. Dev Days are coming. It's kind of like Sweeps Week, except a lot geekier. Yeah, so it's October 12th to the 13th in Seattle, Washington. And you might have remembered this from a couple of years ago, back when they started announcing Steam machines and Steam hardware. And I mean, they have a list of topics on the website, including Steam business and marketing, aka just an hour of like an auditorium in pure silence.
Yes, but everyone's going to be sitting there going, all right, don't check under your seat just yet because bees.
You get bees and you get and you know what? I got a suggestion for a talk. What the actual fuck happened with Steam machines, guys?
Oh no! You see, that's easy because absolutely nothing happened with the Steam machines.
Right? It's like they earmarked a ton of money for like development and promotion, and then they're like, okay, that's done.
Promotion? And development maybe, but promotion?
Yeah, I'm actually with P-Man on that. I mean, the development maybe, promotion. Yeah.
And also, I'm curious if Captain Mayo Pants has a talk this year because he had one 2 years ago for SDL. So
I was earlier in the week. I saw Aculus mention the Steam Dev Days on Twitter. He didn't specify whether or not he'd be giving a talk or just attending, but he implied that he was going.
And remember, if you see Akibots,
throw grilled cheeses at him.
Exactly. I mean, just
yes.
Bring that
or bring him a jar of mayo. Either way.
If you bring a jar of mayo, he requests that you give it to him, then grind on him. LGC cares, ladies and gentlemen. Up next.
Up next, Steam. They have finally decided to merge the current beta branch onto the stable client, and the release notes there only reflect the most recent changes that they made, which was a rare crash when resizing Windows and a short idle timer to the client update dialog box so that future updates will not pop up while you're in the middle of typing. That never really happened to me. There was also a Steam controller fix for Left 4 Dead 2 and Portal 2 under some configurations. That's all well and good. What they don't mention here is the storefront. Now, if you're on Linux and you go to the storefront, you see Windows-only games and Windows and Mac-only games. That wasn't the case before. They done goofed.
I listened. I mean, first Empty brought this up, and he was like, "Sky's falling." Then you were like, "Yeah, sky's falling," and I immediately was like, what are you heathens up to? I mean, seriously, what you go to the store, you go to Linux, then you sort by release date. Done.
Yeah. But if you do that, it'll still work just fine. But previously, even if you went to,
I don't see what the issue is, because that is exactly what I do as well. I wasn't aware that there was any other way.
If you went to just the regular old storefront, store.steampower.com, you would see Linux-only games if you were connecting from a Linux client. That's how it used to work. And if you scrolled all the way down to the list of the new releases, it would be Linux-supported games. Now, even if you go all the way down and hit the Show All New Releases button, it will specifically select Windows and Mac, but leave Linux unchecked. What the fucking fuck, Valve?
Well, what they need to do is allow you to set the settings. Even when you sort by release date, it doesn't remember that you said, quit showing me this bullshit rental system that no one's using.
But I love renting videos off Steam. That's what I only use Steam for.
That's because you're a bot.
Well, that posting fake reviews. Yeah, this is for Morty. This is from Steam Spot. And this game, Zombie Rush, had a bit of a weird issue with their reviews. It looked like they were getting overwhelmingly positive reviews, but it was a bit suspicious considering this thing looks like some fucking bullshit overpriced game you found at the back of a Scholastic grade school catalog. Mind
and
you, that's
the
where
names of the people reviewing the game.
Yeah. Oh yes, the names of the people reviewing the game. I like that because they're all named after Unova Pokemon, which means nothing to you people. But it's just kind of bullshit how these bots are basically just flooding the entire system with positive reviews. And it doesn't really do Valve any good, because one of the main things Valve needs to realize is that the more time they have people actually looking at the Steam website, Steam page, application, whatever, the more they're actually likely to buy something. If I have to go to an external source to check out reviews like Rock, Paper, Shotgun or LinuxGameCast.com/reviews/podcast /slash Patreon, I'm not looking at your store page, which means I'm not likely to see something that catches my eye and then impulse buy it. It's the Costco strategy.
I don't know, man. The biggest issue with this, I mean, we've all, we covered this with Vendetta, Curse of the Raven's Cry. It's like, there's some fake ass reviews up in this. But the big takeaway from this, it looks like somebody has managed to get a bot system going, automated. And, the plot kind of thickened, that's what they were saying over here on our Steam. They figured out how to bot review. But Pedro, in a time-honored tradition, after getting completely screwed in the media and all that, Steam went, maybe we should fix this.
Because finally, someone pointed it out, and the Reddit thread actually got some traction, and it's huge. If you actually scroll the way down through it, he's been, the original poster has been, editing and adding updates and more links and more stuff. It's a huge thread, and someone was paying attention and decided to expose this. Now, and only now, because that's how Valve works, we've seen it in the past, they remove entire support for entire currencies and only then go, oh, right, people probably want to buy games in those regions. Oops. And they're finally doing something about it.
Well, that's how Valve works. We all know that. I mean, they didn't even come out with a statement about, you remember when you were getting everyone's accounts details? Remember when that issue with their caching issue? Until Total Biscuit went and broke his foot off in their ass. And they're like, our bad guys. And that was effectively it.
And But at the same time, you have to realize that we've sort of been reinforcing this behavior all this time because to be honest, I had completely forgotten about that issue. No one really takes them to task about that, and no one continually does that until some actual change is affected. We'll wait for this to blow over.
Weekly because LGC cares.
Oh yes, every week. Absolutely, Gaben, we have you by the balls and the nipples. But they may just get fed up with us and hire some assassins. Who knows?
That's true, man. Oh my God, guys, I'm going to write a story on my blog page and say it might be coming. Like everyone did. All right, here's what actually happened. We're talking about Hitman 47. My first thought was like, oh shit, that's going to be that shitty episodic one, right? It was like, yeah, Vin, it is. I was like, damn it, other Vin. But they've added Mac and Linux OS config repos for this business. It's a Squeenix title. So if you're a betting carbon-based entity, you might be thinking, it might be Feral. Feral's been, we already have Hitman on Linux. It's just Hitman Go. But not a horrible game. And we have the Tomb Raiders. But as I said at the beginning of the show, maybe you skipped through that because you're a smart person and don't want to listen to me. This also happened with Mad Max. How did that work out, Pedro?
It didn't.
Yeah, right. Still waiting on that.
Really didn't.
Yeah.
But Mad Max was wasn't that a Warner Brothers game?
Mm-hmm. It was.
Yeah, that's an entirely different kind of worms. So. But I don't specifically care about Hitman, really, any of the series. Go was actually a breath of fresh air because it was a game that I actually enjoyed because of all the puzzles and everything. The actual Hitman games, I'm kind of meh on them. But yes.
It looks like the Tomb Raider experiment was successful, or this is just phase 2 of the experiment. But I want the new Deus Ex game on Linux, man. Come on, Feral.
I want some Final Fantasy.
You can do it. You can do it.
Bring the Final Fantasy remakes or re-releases, remasters, whatever they want to call them. Bring those to Linux.
I have one thing to reply to you with that.
They're bringing Hitman. They're bringing Hitman.
We don't know they're bringing Hitman. We know that somebody might have accidentally clicked on that and went, we'll leave it. Watch them.
No, they just clicked export, man. That's how that works, right?
That's how that works. Quit being so salty.
Well, I was kind of salty earlier in the week.
Salty. Jeez.
Remember, kids, don't fill out show notes when you're dealing with BS at work. Because, this is Salt and Sanctuary. They Flibbity-Jibby-Bo, you may know him as Ethan Lee. He's helping them bring Salt and Sanctuary to Linux, and he currently has an open Linux/Mac beta available. All you have to do is, if you already have the game, I'll reiterate that, you can help him test and report all the bugs to the specific forum in the Steam's discussions there. If you don't already own the game, wait. Because as much as I trust Ethan to do a fine job, and he usually does, all his ports usually tend to work pretty well, I still believe we shouldn't be paying for the privilege of beta testing a game.
I don't know. I mean, some people want to support developers that are actively trying to support Linux. People.
Yeah, because early access has worked great so far.
So some people are also entitled journalists who expect people to give them keys because they ask. But that's not us for the most part, right? Right.
Well, 2/3.
Check the show notes for more details. Everything is crossed out. It looks like a fucking redacted FBI FOIA request. Jeez.
All right, get your Gauss cannons ready.
All right. Let's talk about MechWarrior on Linux, which is never going to happen, so we have Brigador instead. And when I first looked at the screenshots in the trailer, I'm like, oh, that looks like that game from 1998, LAPD Future Cop. I love that game. That was amazing. So I actually sent the fine folks at the Stellar Jockeys an email, and they actually give us some keys. So FCC, don't shut us down yet again.
Doesn't require an operating system. Pretty impressive.
No. And it starts up, it works, but the moment I started to move, and you use your mouse to aim, and you use like tank controls like WASD, to move, not in the direction you're facing with the mouse, but in whatever direction.
No, we're trying to say this thing, it doesn't control like the WASD. This is the incarnate of WASD in mech form.
Yes.
Like, what the?
It really is. When I was hitting W, I'm like, why am I moving backwards? This makes no sense. And then it dawns on me, I gotta rotate with A and D, and then I can move forward. That's some fucking
the
isometric
view with tank controls and mouse aiming is a bit weird. Why can't I lock the controls?
I kind of want to play it with a controller. It seems like it would be fun with a controller, but instead I'm left with walking into walls while things shoot me because I can't orient myself properly.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but it looks really good and it works really well. So we'll probably be throwing chairs
What's it about?
at
What's
it
it
at some
cost?
point.
I never heard of it. What's it about?
It's
it's
about destroying things
game.
for the glory of our great leader.
Yeah, it's very similar to LAPD Future Cop, where you control a giant mech and you're shooting down the people that are shooting back at you, basically destroying buildings and everything. It gets you money, and you finish missions, get you more money, and you can buy new mechs, new weapons, different types of mechs. There were a couple of interesting ones, but they were stupidly expensive, so I'll have to see what's up with that.
Well, you know what my favorite type of mech is? My favorite type of mech is something that you build from scratch.
Oh, yes. And, man, I got the perfect game for you.
Oh, look, it's the Borg.
Besieged. It's like Minecraft for terrible people. We've made that joke a million times, and we're going to continue to beat it, just like the horse. This is update 14, version 0.30.
It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're listening to the audio, I mean, the texture thing, I mean, you can map new textures, right?
Yeah, no, they have support for Steam Workshop skin packs, so you can, make a catapult out of the faces of city councilmen, and then use said catapult to destroy the city council.
Could you also make them out of baby hands?
Well, only if they're white baby hands, Ben. One thing in the patch notes that kind of stood out was Steam is now able to push rockets, and I'm pretty sure the U.S. military is not happy with that one. They've also included 2 new sandbox levels for you to destroy and level.
This game, I stay away from this game so hard because I get cracked into it every time. As J-Man was describing, Besiege is basically Legos with saw blades where you get to slaughter people and destroy things and make flying ships and rolling ships and cannonbolts and Voltrons and Gypsy Dangers.
Yes, or the whatever the fuck that Jew exterminator thing was with the swastika.
The Jewinator?
The Jewinator. You can totally make one of those if you're so inclined. All right, let's move on to the Patreon thing. I think before we go light ourselves on fire with some
that's next segment. Right?
You can fuel this horrific machine by heading on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast to help support this nightmare fuel. It enables us to come on week after week after week and helps us with our crippling server costs that are really, really crippling. What is Patreon? You never heard of it? It's a crowdfunding solution. You can give us, all we're really asking for is like 5 cents an episode because we want to inflate those numbers. We want to show that there is an audience for Linux games. And that way, we can get more of them. And hopefully better quality ones than like what Farrell's been crapping out recently. But that said, it's time to give some thanks to a fine group of people, including Frere O. Apparently, the Asgard High Council approves of what we're doing. Reptilian Brian, Bjorn S., Steve B., and Michael G. have all helped contribute to the nightmare fuel that is Linux Gamecast. And if you don't want to head on over to Patreon, you can also go to linuxgamecast.com/support the shows. And we got some Amazon affiliate links. We got some PayPal buttons. It's good stuff. We appreciate all the support. And even if you can't like monetarily support us, spread the word, because the more people whose ears we reach, the worse they'll be. Yeah.
Well, I do want to throw in a little bit of a pro tip. This is something I learned. Forget about our Patreon. Just go to Patreon and check it out. You're going to find a lot of cool stuff. If you're like me, we were talking before we started recording. Don't really watch a lot of the TVs anymore. I mean, I basically watch live, loud, independent productions from 5 or 6 people. And one of the Patreons, I plugged in because I just got a new credit card. Missed it by a digit, and it was like declined. Immediately flipped out, but then I went to my Patreon, was like, wait a minute. I was like, missed a digit. Now, going to kind of blame Patreon a little bit for this one. I got to be honest. But then again, Patreon's not some massive corporation. It was started by a husband and wife band, Pomplamoose.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can write a simple one check to validate credit.
You got to think about that. And I corrected it. So everyone within the sound of my voice organ, just go check it out for our show, for anything else that you do back on Patreon, because it is a fantastic way for us to keep doing this. What's up next, Jay Baby?
Coming up next, how many lights are there, Ben?
5.
All of them. You know, this little intermission you get if you're just watching the produced version may not be very compelling, as it were, but if you're watching us live, well, let's just say you should totally watch us live. I had something for that, and then it slipped my mind. I suck. It's the news! Yay! Yeah, so MSI reveals the 4 GTX 1070 model lines that are coming. They have the Aero, which sounds like a crappy Windows desktop environment.
How do you misspell armor?
Armor, yes, because it's American, which is pretty expensive, that armor one. They have one with a built-in radiator. Yeah, that's a built-in radiator they got right there. And they have the Twin Frozer line, which I think they're actually dropping the Twin Frozer gaming scheme.
They've been calling it the gaming series since the 980.
Yeah, it'll
say the Twin Frozer fans on the box, but they just call it the gaming GPU.
Yeah, it's the gaming X 1070 8 gigabytes, or if we take the
7.5 gigabytes. Pedro.
Yeah, 7.5 ish. And when Ven posted this in the notes, he said that it needs lights, but it has plenty of lights. Hell, according to this article, the Twin Frozer line has a full RGB MSI logo at the top and fan accents which light up in red.
Oh, come on, man. I was angry enough when I got my 980 and it has the MSI Twin Frozer like LED lights at the top of the card, which is like right next to the vent grill at the bottom, so I can see them like where I'm at right now, and I hate that because I'm old. Trust me, I used to. In my day, I had to Dremel out my own case and buy the plexiglass and put it in there. And but aside from that, yeah, lights. What it needs is more lights, strobe lights, external,
I think
4 of them.
Black lights.
What?
It needs some black lights.
That's racist, man. You're a racist.
I know, but the room is just going to become so white when you turn your computer on. It's going to be brilliant. I mean, they're the 4 lines. They have the water-cooled model. They have the air-cooled model. Then they have the crazy fucking giant fan air-cooled model. But I'm always astounded how much money people are willing to spend on cool-looking cooling. I mean, be as ugly as shit. Do your job. That's my motto. When
I saw that water cooling solution, you know, the self-contained bit, and I was like, are you just making fun of AMD at this point? I mean, what's the flow rate on that? Like 0.0 what?
It's literally using a McDonald's straw. It's kind of brilliant.
Right.
It's using the Corsair H55 closed loop, so if you look up the specs for that, you'll find your answer.
I don't know. One of the big things is, I mean, before everyone's like, oh my God, Nvidia is price gouging. You need to remember this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That 970. Get with the times, Vin. 1070 is faster than a Titan X.
Yep. And for like a third of the price, too.
Mm.
All those people who actually bought Titan X's are still kicking themselves. You can hear it.
9X's, 980 Ti's. Yep, the 1070 beats all of those.
No need to whine about it.
Yeah, let's whine some more because version 1.9.12, the official one, not the staging one, that'll be coming in the coming days, as it were. They have a few bug fixes as usual. It's actually a bit less than usual. They have an initial version of a taskbar in desktop mode. It's like, oh look, a taskbar if you're running Wine with a virtual desktop. Why?
Well, you know, we were talking back and forwards in the show notes. You know, scroll back up in Shot Realm if you didn't see. We posted them for everyone to take a look at. And, you know, Pedro was like, oh, look, a taskbar. And I was like, how does this moon magic work, do you say? Is it an extra taskbar on top of my current desktop manager? He's like, no, it's when you set the virtual desktop. And I was like, oh, right. So it's only available in desperation mode.
Well, I mean, if you want that true Windows XP experience, then you need to enable the taskbar. Otherwise, how else are you going to press
need to disable compositing and just look at all the window smear that happens as you drag it around.
Or you can just, not change Pedro's diaper for a day. But up next, we got Humble staff picks. Humble seems to think that they know a lot better than you, and they're going to offer you a bundle based on the best of what they have. And there's
pig, fly.
Fly, pig, fly. Yeah, no, it doesn't look like there's actually much. There's 100 in terms of Linux games. They got the Absolute Drift, 101 or 1001 Spikes, Snakebird, and everything else doesn't have a Linux version. Although if you don't own Hand of Fate and you want to get that fairly cheap, well, if you want to get that for $6, it looks like this is really the only thing that really caught my interest. At one point, Viscera cleanup detail came with it. Yeah, it still does if you pay more than $10. I'm a bit sad that actually never got a Linux port, considering it is literally Shadow Warrior with a mop.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard about that game billions of years ago when you said Shadow Warrior with a mop, and I was like, I know exactly what you're on about during that. But yeah, Manos Hands of Fate is, if you like card games with like a very force shoved in, poorly done, like third person's perspective battle.
It's got the
system.
Arkham style of combat. So
well, I mean, you enjoyed Hands of Fate, right?
Yeah, I did. The combat was admittedly the weakest bit, but I like card games and the whole deck building thing.
It's not a card game. It's a deck building game, you fucks.
Yeah. Yes. The whole deck building mechanic. Stop interrupting me.
No! Fuck you! Up next!
Yeah. What I was saying was the whole deck building mechanic is actually pretty interesting in Hand of Fate. But I'm kind of curious to see about what the staff picks will be, because they say that they'll have more games coming soon.
So that's not bad. You can get Hand of Fate for 6.30 wet stinky American cashes. So,
yes, it's a very good price. And you also get Absolute Drift, which is not terrible. It's actually not a terrible game, but I'm curious to see what other games will they pick. But chances are there's going to be quite a few games you already own or don't much care about. Business as usual for Humble, then.
Okay.
Move your head, babe.
Progress.
Yes. All right. So this is Play 080. 080. It's that game that Ben did the voice work for the trailer. Imagine a world where Ben actually reads stuff adequately. Yeah. The links to all this stuff is in our show notes. They have a small progress update. It's not a new version just yet. They're just checking in. Say, hey guys, how are you doing? This is what we're doing. They've added. They're talking about adding on a couple new developers, and they've added some new models to the game to have some more customized units, and they've done some rebalancing work to put some emphasis on siege engines now that they have that all working. So, I mean, if you're really into following 080's development, definitely do a pull from their Git repository, or just wait for it to get pushed out to it's in most operating systems.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything. I mean, if you want like nightlies or anything like that, well, they don't really do nightlies, but they do have a PPA, and
yeah, they have
just imagine where this comes. I mean, this has come from Wolfire Games, so it is going
not Wildfire, not Wolfire.
Yeah, derp.
Wolfire's never releasing their game.
Exactly.
At least these guys put out incrementals.
Well, maybe that kind of stuck in my head when I was saying that. Maybe it was like a Freudian, like, yo. It was like, it's kind of parallel. I was like, we're never releasing this. But when this first started, I mean, even with that, you had to manually type in each other's IP addresses, and it was quite all right. The new animations look a bit nice. Completely priced to sell at free. And yes, I did do that trailer voice. Pedro.
Yeah, the composer for their soundtrack is actually releasing a new album on his own. So if you like his musical musings as it may be,
if you want to be my lover,
check the link in the show notes and scroll the way down. You can find all the details. And it actually sounds pretty nice. Omri Lahav. I probably butchered his name.
You butcher everything you say. It's fine. But we might have to take this into the arena, the Elder Scrolls arena. So it looks like more crazy people are obsessed with the Elder Scrolls games because someone has decided I'm gonna go do a engine re-implementation.
I don't even care what it is. All I know is Fmod has been removed, and that's a good thing.
Woohoo! Yeah, everyone party.
If only Unity did that.
Yeah, no, this is an open source engine re-implementation of the Elder Scrolls Arena. Another one of the games that you can actually pick off Bethesda's website and just run for free and run it in DOSBox. But it's good that someone has actually gone, at least that's going through the exercise of redoing the first Elder Scrolls game. And I mean, it rounds it out now because we got Elder Scrolls 1, 2, and 3 with engine re-implementations. All we need is open Skyrim. Where is it, guys? Come on!
Open Skyrim will be available shortly after the cancel of this show because squirrel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The show will be canceled shortly after Open Skyrim gets released. That's
now we just need Daggerfall and Unity and OpenMW and OpenSceneGraph to be finished, and the OG trifecta of Elder Scrolls games will have open source two of them will have, but engine re-implementations as the case may be. But to address the Open Skyrim thing, I still think Open Oblivion would be time better spent right now, mostly because getting Fallout 3 and New Vegas to work at that point would be much easier.
I don't care. Give me Open Skyrim. Put it in my face.
Put it in my face. Just respect my radioactive
insane
rubber
people. Love them.
Zed's not dead, baby, actually.
It's not a motorcycle, it's a chopper.
It's not often because we have some pretty stringent rules with the Kickstarter, but this got around the rules because Empty, our favorite person, our DBA, the guy who's in charge of Chat Realm, also a co-host
guy
from last
who has
week,
a pot of gold that we've stolen to
from the artist behind Myst, CNC, and 25 other games, an adventure puzzle journey into unpredictable, non-violent, dream worlds. Okay, that could still be interesting. Psychonauts proved that. Check it out. They have a demo. Download and play Zed. Now, you put a little trailer on the background. When Empty first mentioned this, I was like, oh, yay. Looking forward to downloading another Unity game in a zip file. So the first action is chmod.
It's a tar.gz, man. I'm excited. Yeah. I was literally excited downloading this. I'm like, the permissions are actually going to be set.
I've been fooled before, man. And lo and behold, it is built with Unreal Engine 4. So, the permissions are correct. They did that correct. Unfortunately, I do have to point out that the first step in downloading the Linux binary package is let's play our favorite game. Find the binary. But
I'm gonna just throw out a wild guess here. Is it in the folder called binaries?
No. Well, there's two binaries. I mean, if you're not familiar with the Unreal 4 engine structure layout, I mean, trust me.
It pukes some shit out.
I just felt bad for solely OS users because they would never be able to figure that out, much less benchmark it.
Well, unless it's done in XML, in which case they'll get it done super fast.
Hey,
yeah. But yeah, one of the easiest thing to remember if you're looking for a binary in an Unreal Engine 4 game is don't go to the folder that says engine, go to the folder that's called the same as the game. Then go to the binaries folder, then go to the Linux folder, then run the game. That's it. But
you may have to fight a manticore in the process.
yeah, Linux file systems will do that to you every now and again. But they did call this demo prototype, they call it a vertical slice. That's marketing spiel for really teeny tiny bit of gameplay, which doesn't really tell you a whole lot. Still, considering this is a Kickstarter game, that's better than nothing.
Hey man, we do have the thing that we say. I mean, if you have a demo, you want to play your stuff, and that's kind of a bit neat. What were you saying, Jimin?
I don't even remember. I just talk a bunch of shit all the time.
Business as usual.
Hey kids. Restream lets you stream your gaming session to multiple video sites of a venue. Talking about this on Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday on Wednesday. And of course,
who watches that garbage? Come on, guys.
We're just amateur hacks. But we did kind of want to bring this up because there are some people who don't watch one or the other. what Restream does is allow you to, and this is not a plug, we haven't even tried it, so we want someone to go test it and get back with us and try it on the Linux. I might get around to like playing with it. You know, you can stream to Hitbox, Ustream, Twitch, the Goo.
Wait, Ustream still a thing?
Technically, yes, even though IBM owns it, which I found out today for some reason. I was like, what? Okay, I guess that's a thing. But then I was like, Amazon owns Twitch. And I was like, but that kind of almost makes sense. Who knows? Kind of a neat piece of kit. What is it? What is it? Just what's the Restream.io? No, that's what I was looking for. If you have limited bandwidth and you can't stream to all these services at one time, what are your thoughts on this, Jay baby?
I mean, it is pretty neat, and it definitely solves a problem. I would say trying to pull together disparate communities over various streaming sites is probably not the best idea for growing your brand. You might want to narrow your focus, and then expand outward. But if you want to go that route, this definitely provides the tools for you. It does require all the IRC relay bots in the world, though, because you're going to have to hook in all the various chats. And the emojis aren't going to be consistent, and that's unacceptable, then. I need to show my poopy face to everyone.
Didn't Twitch actually kill most of the custom emojis?
I thought you said most.
They did not.
I did say most of the cum, but that doesn't matter.
Are you kidding? That's how you identify somebody's age group on Twitch. It was like how many custom emojis they have. And I was like, yeah, all right, got it. 12-year-old. No.
All right, so now that since we're talking about bodily ejections, as the case may be, let's not make a 41-second long moment of silence for Stainless Games. They released a video on YouTube which they call Carmageddon, max damage. We do penguins. I'm pretty sure that's admission to bestiality right there.
Well, you know, when I first heard this, and you know, I posted this, Pedro will cover why they. She's like, what? Mm-hmm. I first saw this, like, we do penguins. And Pedro and I both backed the project at the $15 level, like 63 years ago. And we're still waiting for them to produce that Carmageddon Linux port, which was their first stretch goal.
Let me grab some popcorn.
First really stretch goal. And they didn't. But we'll explain all that in just a bit. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, they made a Linux port. Don't fucking care at this point. I'm sorry. I just had to get that out of my system.
No, that's the thing. They didn't. This is a 41-second long fuck you for those idiots who, you know, like me and you, Ven, who back their Kickstarter solely because of that Linux stretch goal, which was like the very first one. And this was also the game that taught me that you never give money to people who, quote unquote, promise a Linux
Morgan
stretch
Freeman
goals.
is going to be pissed at these guys. Jesus fuck.
It's also one of the, or the only one of the 3 games I kickstarted, which simply did not deliver anything to Linux. Well, they did deliver contempt in spades. Case in point.
You know, there's absolutely the thing that, I mean, this is their new game, Max Damage, the new and improved game that looks...
Max Power?
No, Max Damage, son. That looks like it might be from 2004 as opposed to 2001.
And they're releasing it on the consoles.
Well, the main reason they're doing this is because they want to get it out to the consoles, and it's had horrible reviews, and they want to pull a Vendetta versus Vendetta Curse of the Ravens Cry. It's like, oh, new thing. We get to wipe all the reviews, not knowing they're immediately going to go back to negative because they released, they got $6 million to do this. They blew their budget. They released an antiquated piece of shit that no one liked. It looks like ass. It plays like ass. Never delivered. They haven't even finished delivering the rewards. 4 years, man. 4 years, $6 million later.
Ben, you're smelling like a bit of pickled okra there because you're pretty salty.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am. I'm super proud. I'm giving myself a round of applause for that.
Dynafire.
Go me.
All right. So,
I mean, I don't have any real investment in this. It's shitty what these guys are doing, and this really does seem to just rub it in. But this is why they're not getting any more money from us, and they're getting the big old shit list.
Well, one thing that we did have in the notes, this was, if not the first, the second game on Kickstarter that said, hey, man, we're going to make a Linux port. Pedro remembers is like, oh, what? Yes. And that got my attention. It's like, first stretch goal, Linux support. And we kind of got to thank him for this, though, because, if, we were not one of the first, if not the first, to go scorched earth policy on Linux stretch goals for Kickstarters. And
this is the game that drove that in.
That is no longer a thing in the community. You can't get away with that anymore. And I made a simple infographic this week of how to determine whether or not you should back a Linux Kickstarter in 2016. You hit Control F on the page and type in demo. If it comes up red, don't back it.
Yep.
Sounds pretty smart. Coming up next, we crash into walls and crash into other cars and just crash in general as we throw some chairs at F1.
But Jordan, will you ever crash into me?
I hope so. These are noises that you'll hear while playing F1 2015 from Codemaster Games, ported by Feral, built on the Ego Engine 3 that you can pick up for about 60 of whatever currency you use. I like Flubargs, because you can also spend them to play Roy at Blitz and Chits. It's pretty awesome. And what is it? Race like a champion in an F1 2015. A stunning new game engine and all new broadcast presentation puts you in the heart of the action. The fine folks at Feral sent us keys, so we're going to throw some chairs at some bucket seats, I guess. So let's kick it off. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that's awesome. We also got our categories: Oh Doom, Mixed with Working, Shiny Sounds Controls, and Fun. So then, Morty, does F1 2015 doesn't make with the working?
We're going to actually have a interesting conversation between my octo-core versus Pedro's octo-core. But my octo-core is running the Ubuntu 1404 LTS box of business with a 980 displayed at 4K-ish. We call it UHD, 3840 by 2160. How does it run, though? Now, this is a game that, even on Windows, people have had valid complaints about. It's like, the performance is a bit shit, Brad. I mean, not horrible, not unplayable, but a bit shit. But, they were kind of really targeting the consoles back in the day. So, how does it run on the 8150? Overclocked at 4.0 gigahertz. It's a black edition, so yeah, I know. He's like, Vin, that's not really an overclock. And I was like, I know it's not. I can push it further.
Go deeper.
At 1080p, everything on high. I mean, I'm getting about 46, everything on low, and that includes the other settings, cutting off the anti-aliasing and all that business. About 48. Now, at 2160, 3840 by 2160, aka some people mistakenly call it 4K, it does manage to hover around 30-ish. There were some gaming blog things that was like, it's unplayable at that resolution. They just didn't know how to fucking play, bruh. In-game, I think Pedro might even bring this up. That benchmark that we're playing, lies, and damn lies. I mean, it's not representative of what you actually get, because you're like, 46, 48, that's horrible. In-game, it usually hovers, even with everything, not on ultra, but on high, between 50 and 60 FERPs, and there are sometimes, if you got a big crowd coming around, maybe it's raining, and all that business is happening, it'll dip into the low 30s, but, all right, that's the thing. However, on the 8150, this is something Pedro and I are going to have to explain. You definitely want to check out the show notes if you're playing the home game, if you're listening on the audios, it uses all 8 cores of my 8150, and they are pretty much, give or take, little as make no difference, about 45% on that. Then we talk about the GPU utilization. On my 980, running the latest Nvidia beta drivers, 37% average GPU utilization. I mean, it can spike, it can go lower. However, I do need to make a note. Per Feral's recommendations, I'm not running 1604 LTS because I'm not a moron. I'm running 1404.
You waited until the .1.
Yeah, you wait till that .1, then you wait about 3 to 6 months after that. Then you think about it. And note 2, I did notice something a bit fucky with it. I mean, switching from 1080 to 1280, because I want to take the screenshot that you'll be able to see in the notes. It does something a bit sketchy. I mean, it just like slams in the upper left-hand corner without a border. And what really threw me off, because I was being lazy, I was like, I don't want to open up GIMP. I just opened up a terminal and like typed in FFmpeg command to record like, a 3-second video to get a screenshot because I'm lazy. But I was using NVNC. It managed to disable that. But you give it a restart, everything works. Bob's your uncle. It's a bit brilliant. So, yeah, Farrell, good job. 4 chairs.
Yeah, on the i7 6700K with the GTX 980. One thing I found odd is you're reporting a lot better performance at UHD than I got, because it was struggling to keep above 30 in game. But for 1080p with like everything cranked up to fucking ultra, I was getting on average, the lowest it dipped was 58 frames a second, and it was averaging about 65 to 70-ish.
Well, you were running on that dual core Celeron, right?
Oh yeah, the single core Pentium P100, right? It's running at about 2 megahertz. No, this is an i7 at 4.1 gigahertz. Skylake, yep. Yeah. So until I hit that math bug, everything's running smoothly. Getting on average about 69 FPS in the benchmarks. Everything looks fine, even with the rain, even with the whatnots. Just don't play it at 4K. But beyond that, 4 chairs.
Yeah, this is where things get interesting, because
one thing to note. I was getting 100% GPU or 98% GPU engine utilization. I find that compared to Ven's. So make that.
Yeah. Because this is where this gets interesting. Ven's already hinted at it, because I have an FX 8370E that's overclocked at 4.2 gigahertz and a GTX 970 Strix running Fedora 23, so also not running the recommended OS. But according to the benchmark, I got an average of 48 FERPs on low, medium, high, and ultra. It's on low, I got like 48.5, and on ultra, I got 47.9. So that benchmark is completely unreliable. When you actually get in game, you get around, at least for me, on the high preset, I was getting 55 to 60 FERPs on average. But looking at HTOP, it seems to peg 1 or 2 of my cores at around 50%, and all the other 6 hover around 20%.
And that's
it is
really
actually
interesting, because we have our 2 separate screenshots, and
yeah,
and
it is using those other 6 cores. You can actually see the threads in the screenshot in HTOP, but it's like 20% at most. Some of those were even lower than that. And looking at the Nvidia settings panel, the GPU utilization was actually hitting 100% at some points during races. If those 100% GPU utilization spikes are to be taken at face value, it would seem that this game is more GPU bound rather than CPU bound. So maybe I'm hitting the cap on the 970 on what it can do. Whatever the case is, it's very unoptimized, because I have the recommended video card. 970 is actually what Farrell recommends, and the performance is kind of bad. I'm not sure with whom the blame lies on this one. It might be on my end, it might be on Farrell's end, hell, it might even be on Codemaster's end. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
Yeah, one of the things I really hate about having the i7 is that the HTOP output is not representative of actual CPU consumption, because it's not actually 8 cores. But anyways, that's 3 chairs for Mix with the Working. Up next to Shiny and Sounds. Ven, how did it shine? How did it sound?
Even on low, this critter looks like a bit of all right. It just does. But if you're not happy with that, what you can do is put it on high. But you might want to take caution, because you'll be too busy wiping off the rainbow barf from your monitor. Yeah, it looks that good. It's gorgeous. I don't care if you don't like racing. It's gorgeous. It looks so good. Now, then again, you know, I'm playing it on a 28-inch 4K UHD monitor. But here's the thing. I mean, this is what really convinced me. You know, when I'm laying rubber in the wet, I can smell the rain. I mean, that actually happened. And I mean, also, the game looks really nice when it's raining. I mean, sorry, I got a little sidetracked there, but...
Settle down, Daredevil.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, in the wet. That did happen. I mean, you get so focused. I mean, you're driving. I mean, you know, my brain organ kicks in and it's like, you're driving an F1 car that's like a $6 million car. It's like, oh, we got to be careful. But the AI doesn't feel that way. We'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the sounds. We've established it's gorgeous. Even on low, on fugly, this thing looks better than anything any racing sim ever created under Linux. And I'm sorry, send your hate mail to actually just go to LinuxGameCast, go to the contact. Let's talk about the sounds, because the only thing you're going to care about is, what does it sound like? The engine sounds, are they good? It's like, they're awesome. Cut them up to 11. Buy a stupidly overpriced pair of headphones for your ear pussies and just enjoy that racket, because the engine noise is fantastic. It's a little bit stereo. I like it. And the downshifts. Oh, from those 2-liter engines running at the amazing horsepower. It's like, oh. Can you tell I'm happy? Because 4 more
I
shares.
think you're going to have to wipe off a little more than Rainbow Barf. If you catch what I mean.
Fan's gonna need a new skirt.
Anyways, yeah, that's 4 skirts out of 4. No, it definitely does make with the pretty. I'm not that big into Formula One racing games. I'll get into that a lot more in the fun segment. So just you wait. But yeah, no, it definitely looks gorgeous. And I mean, you'd figure with all the licenses Codemaster gets for these cars and the drivers and all the companies and whatnot, it comes with that big fucking warning label that says, if you do not make these look pretty as shit, we'll sue you. And so... so Codemasters takes that as, well, we like printing money. So, yeah, it definitely makes it pretty. No issues there. And I mean, as for sounds, I don't watch any F1. So my only real exposure to that is, say, that one episode of Archer where they're at the Monaco Grand Prix in Iron Man 2. And it sounds like the noises those cars make in those things. So I guess that's good enough for me. 4 chairs.
Yeah, well, we're on the sounds. Oh, look, it's a Codemasters game where I can actually mute those goddamn annoying announcer. Because there is only one Codemasters announcer, and it's always stupidly fucking annoying. But they let me mute it on this one. Bonus chair. Music, well, you have music in the menu, and it's elevator music grade at best. But in a game which is very clearly aiming at the Sims subgenre of racing games, that's fine. I can deal with that. Where the sounds really shine, and Ben already kind of drooled all over this one, is in the car engine noise. You can actually judge how fast you're going and what gear you're in when you're trying to slow down to enter a turn by just the noise that the engine is making. It's that good. Tire noise is also really subtle, but the moment your tires start degrading, you can also very clearly hear the difference if you're paying attention. The weather effects are really well done, and you know, as boring as F1 cars are to look at, in my opinion, that is, they are really well modeled and look really pretty from all camera angles. Even anisotropic filtering was working wonders in this game. So for me, 4 chairs.
All right, so that is 4 chairs for the shiny and the sounds. Up next is Control. Then, did you feel like you were driving an F1 car while playing this game?
Well, in all fairness, I mean, the X-Clune controller is basically roughly the size of an F1 racing wheel, at least the grip.
It's also wheel-shaped, right?
But it has far less buttons, and that's kind of an important thing that we need to talk about. When I first launched this, it was like, okay, you know, we were thinking about Grid Autosport, and I was like, oh, it's a little bit of arcadey bits, and I was like, maybe this will have that. So I didn't bother with any of those settings. I was like, okay, let's just put it on herp derp mode, because we're playing it with a controller. I would have been controlling a $6 million car with a controller. Brilliant. About 3 seconds after that, I really wanted a wheel with flappy paddle shifters. I was like, I want to be able to shift, because doing it with controllers, it was nonsensical. It couldn't happen. But that leads to a problem, Brad. It genuinely does, because unfortunately, steering wheels with the flappy pedals, those lead to foot pedals. And pedals, they lead to proper shifters. And proper shifters actually lead to life-size Antonio Banderas blow-up dolls with realistic genitalia.
Antonio Banderas is the path to the dark side.
It does happen. However, if you put this in herp derp mode and you don't play online, it is absolutely serviceable with the xCloud, but that's just going to make you angry. You're like, oh, I could play this a lot better if I could shift normally like I do in my car. And all that business. More to that point, Cody Cooper, shout out, what's up? Asked me, as soon as we got the copies of this game, he was like, is this a wheel game? And, I was like, yeah, I think so. But after a few additional arns into this, I can absolutely double down on my initial comment of, yep.
Yep.
But, don't worry about that. Go to Farrell's Web Zone. They have a list of supported wheels. I mean, Thrust Cockmaster 9000 Yellow 2010 might not be supported, but most of the average ones are. But I will give you this pro tip. More like a fun tip, actually. Don't even think about cutting off all the assist using a controller. just don't. Actually, do it. Do it. Because it's not infuriating, impossible. It's infuriating. It's LOL impossible. I mean, you're just laughing. You're like, all right, okay, got it. Fine. So, I mean, even with that handy crap, I'm still going to give it 3 chairs.
I mean, it works reasonably well with the Areola controller and the PlayStation 4 controller. Now, this is one of these types of situations in which I can't really comment on the controls because I don't know whether this is necessarily a shortcoming in the controls or I'm just really bad at this game. It's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, of course you can't just fucking drive and gun it. You have to periodically brake and whatnot. I mean, I'd give this 4 chairs just from the fact that everything is sanely mapped on the controller, but I do get Xbox prompts on my PlayStation 4 controller. And guys, Ethan figured this out, and he's like considerably paid less than you guys at Feral. So where's your excuse? Especially when he upstreams the shit to SDL as well. I do agree with Ben though. This really does scream the need for a proper cockpit setup with panorama monitors or an HTC Vive or something like that, because otherwise I feel it feels kind of dumb just sitting on my ball with the controller going and funnily enough, these two mentioned it and I wasn't even aware of it. There are configurable assists for the controller. And upon discovering that, I realized that there was actually an even more retarded mode for people who can't play racing games. And I straight up enabled it because I still can't play racing games. So I'll give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, no, Feral has the controls down, it seems, because both the Logitech F310 and the Mistress, they work great, both of them. It's really great to play with the areolas because thanks to the haptic feedback, you can actually get a really good feel of how far you're turning the wheels by just feeling the teeny tiny vibrations on your fingers. Yeah. And I hit the microphone arm.
Take a shot.
Yeah. Go SDL2, go Feral, but like Ben already mentioned, this is very much a wheel and pedals type game, especially if you want to turn off the assists. And if you've ever tried regulating the throttle with this teeny tiny nub on the Logitech F310 or your usual Xbox style controllers, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's really, really bad. So yeah, since I don't really have a wheel anymore and it's an F1 game, but we'll get to that. 3 chairs.
All right, that's 3 chairs for controls. Ven, did you have fun playing this game?
I'm going to be short and succinct with this. This game. Now, I think Feral did, let's say, a B+ on the board. Okay. Now, Feral does have a good reputation of going back and improving things too, like, you know, Tomb Raider and XCOM. Going to give it to you in business like that. So I'm expecting a bit of performance boost, but this one might be a bit more dodgy because it didn't really run very well under Windows, kind of like Company of Heroes. So I started this, you know, it's got mixed reviews, current reviews, past reviews, and all that. When I first read about, you know, just going through that, about the AI just like straight up running you off the track for fuck and all reason, it's like, all right, that is just BS, man. That's 12-year-olds that don't know how to drive or Canadian Jordans in Toronto. Turns out it's not.
All those.
Oh, no. And if you're watching the produced version, you can actually see the AI doing that to me at one point.
And speaking of that AI, I mean, if you're at the end of a race, not the end of a lap, an end of a race, you know, and I'm doing like 3-lap races because I'm lazy, and also a racist. Racist? Does that work?
Go, speed racist.
Well, I mean, I like racing. That AI at the end of the lap, it doesn't matter what position you're in either. I was like, I'm coming in a strong 6, and you got a little indication. You better cut them off and block them, or they're non-existent. Knight Rider turbo boost button will be pressed. And he's like, but then you're going to adjust the fuel. But it doesn't work like that in this game. But they go, whoosh. It's like, oh. Then that's when I got to stop. That's when I got to get up. I got to walk top stairs deck and just get away from anything breakable because I get invested even in 3 laps. I mean, the game is that engaging. Having a good time with it, but that needs to be fixed. And a lot of people are like, well, 2016 fixed that. And a lot of people, 2014 got it right. And this one was a horrible one. I don't know. I didn't get to play the previous one. Maybe we'll get to play the latter one. Because I do believe Phil did a good enough job on this one to justify getting the 2016 from Codemaster. So, you know, for fun, I'm going to give this 2 chairs with an asteroid.
Now, then, so when you start the game up, there's that menu that pops up that says, do you want to use the 2014 mode or the 2015 mode? Does that actually like use the 2014 game, or is it just using all the models and assets and data from that?
Ding, 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 ding.
All last right. One. Yes.
The latter. Just thought I'd clarify that. So, I mean, ultimately, the fun segment here boils down to, I don't like Formula 1 racing. I think it's boring. I get that the cars go fast and sometimes they explode. Doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, as I continue playing the game, sure, you get better. And my time trials got better, and I figured out how to actually steer the damn cars. And, you know, and while playing against bots, I would actually not go into last right off the bat. It would probably be about 3/4 of the way through the track before everyone just bypasses me. But I'm not having fun, and that's why I play games, right? I like to have experiences that are memorable and enjoyable and engaging. And I mean, is the game competently done? Yes, very, very much so. If I were a Formula 1 fan, I might actually be interested in playing this game, but I'm not, and so that's the best you're getting out of me. 1 share.
Yeah, of the racing genre, I think Formula 1 games have always been those I never really got into. I'm not entirely sure why. It could be because of the way Formula 1 cars behave in real world is often not accurately portrayed in video games. It could be because of the idea of racing quote-unquote street cars is more appealing to me than cars designed specifically.
You're racing rocket ships, dude.
Yeah,
I'd play that game 100%.
Yeah.
You can.
But the whole idea of racing quote-unquote street cars is more appealing to me than, you know, stuff specifically designed for a track and with all the custom stuff that actually prevents them from just taking off. Because if a Formula 1 car didn't have all that wind tunnel tuning done to them, they'd just fly out. I did play a bunch of Need for Speed World and Wine before EA nuked the servers, and I loved that game. Although, I really do like racing games as well, and those aren't exactly street legal cars either. With F1 2015 specifically, I don't like how the AI will pit maneuver you out of first place if they only so much as touch you. It's exactly what you'll be able to see in the produced version of the review. I was in first place, and Hamilton, the AI Hamilton, was right behind me, and
not
I went from first place to 12th place. No, I don't really like to play sim type games with a controller, even if it's the Mistress. Full credit to Valve for actually figuring out how to do haptic feedback properly. But I don't really like playing sim type games with a controller, and I really don't like the lack of performance on display. Maybe it's on my end, maybe it's just capping out the 970 and it can't go any higher than that, but I doubt it. And yeah, I guess I'm really not the target audience for this game. That's probably for damn sure. One chair.
All right, so that's one chair for fun. We tally all this nonsense up, and we get 2 whole chairs for F1. Final thoughts? F1, more like FU.
F1
Am I
with
right?
an asteroid.
Yes. Two chairs with an asteroid.
Asterisk,
Yeah.
whatever.
It looks, F1 2015 looks very good. And once you mute the Codemasters racing game announcer, for there is only one, it's a really good sounding game too. It's just too bad you have to experience it with shoddy performance and a cheating AI.
Well, I guess what you got to think about, I mean, if you have a supported racing wheel, plus a love of F1 sims, and don't mind that cheating bastard AI, definitely give it a look. It's a bit pricey. It's a bit mixed, and I think the biggest issue of it being mixed is kind of our experience of not having a proper racing setup. This game is made for that. With a controller, I mean, don't even think about going online. Just don't. I will say this. It's hands down the best racing sim on Linux right now. Oh, yeah.
By default.
Project Cars. Wait, no, that doesn't happen. And you're going to talk about torques and all this other stuff. Argue that point with me, but, hate mail's coming up next, and we'll tell you how to get in touch with us so we can argue that point. What I do want, gentlemen and ladies, boys and girls, I want this game with a Vive, with wheels and pedals and one of those hydraulic move-around chair thingies. And if you pulled me out of that setup, you would be the king of England.
All right. Well, British drivers notwithstanding, that is the review of F1. Coming up next, we talk about why Steam is garbage and why you should get your mods from www.hotmods420.xxx.
Hashtag Uliswag.
Holy shit snacks. Yep, we actually got some hate mail this week. And please keep on sending us some hate mail. It's easy enough to get in touch with us. You just go on over to linuxgamecast.com, fill out the contact form after you click the contact form. Yes. We're hiring a third party from now on. But if you click the contact button, you fill out the form. It's pretty easy. Just pick if you want to send some feedback to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays or some hate mail for Linux Gamecast Weekly. And we'll probably actually feature it on the show, or if it's something more pressing, we'll probably get right back to you. You can also leave us a comment on the social medias like your Facebooks, your Twitters, your G+s. If you leave us a comment there, we'll get back to you.
YouTubes.
Or Patreon,
the YouTubes.
Patreon.
Yes. Patreon. Yes, Patreon posts. If you leave us a comment there, we'll also get right back to you as well.
If you leave us a post on Patreon, we will definitely get back to you.
Oh, yeah. So, we actually do have some proper hate mail this week.
Mr. Yeah, this one's from Tim. He's talking about the client disturbance, and he says, in last week's news, which I wasn't here for, the three of you were pretty meh on GOG's missing Linux Steam client support. Here's my perspective on the client issue. Isn't it nice to just run a game and have no Steam client overlay stuff involved? like in the olden days when we had fucking megahertz computer CPUs and kilobytes of RAM. I just want to have a little escapism for recreation and don't want the whole social media friends function of the Steam client. Nobody needs to know when I'm playing or how much time I wasted this month on a game. That's where I see the strength of GOG or Humble Bundle. What is your take on that? Well, so you guys have your little bit. I'm just gonna go really quickly.
As somebody who has had the fortune to play nothing but, Linux games on the Linux with our Heretic purchases, 3 currently, since 1995, I will speak to this. I get where you're coming from. I absolutely do. But it's 2016. I do not miss the days of like before, when we started the show, Jordan and I started the show, the Steam client didn't exist, man. I mean, there was no organizational, system.
According to the Phoronix articles, it existed.
Well, of course it did. I mean, and Portal 1 and 2 came out on the same day because Laravel needed some clickbait. What we're talking about is, here's something I'm guessing and maybe you're just trying to start up a thought discussion, but, with like 2 clicks with the Steam client, you can disable Steam Chat and, make your profile completely private. And, then Steam becomes like this glorious, organized and updatotron piece of kit. It's absolutely awesome. Now, granted, I feel you on this point, which could be a deal breaker for a lot of people because, I mean, it's, for the 3 of us, it's kind of a part-time job. But for the average person, Steam, no matter what you do, will remind you how much time you did nerf on each and every game.
Yeah, but I don't think his issue was with you reminding yourself of how much time you've sank into a particular game. 165 hours into Dark Souls in 2 weeks on wine. His issue was more like having everyone else that you have on your friends list know that you've sunk that much time into a game. But going off from what you said, with a 3rd click, you can actually set yourself to offline on the Steam Friends thing whenever you start the client. That'll nope the chat as well as notifications your friends get or you get from your friends when starting a game. And fact of the matter is, if a game actually integrates the Steam overlay properly, it will allow for a much easier multiplayer session setup.
But I do want to bring this up. I'm sorry, Jordan, I do have to interject because this is something we talked about on Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday, which is
what was that?
It's a horrible show. We're reverse vampires. I mean, the show on Linux we do clean and it's kid safe. The show on gaming, because we're mental like that. But Pedro was talking about Windows 10 and all the horrible things that Windows 10 does. And I think maybe Tim might have, I mean, he'd bring up this argument, but do you remember what I said about how Steam was kind of like Windows 10?
Yeah. Yep.
And in what ways?
I mean, it's the whole
tracks
whatever you do. Yeah, whatever you do inside the Steam client, Valve knows about it. So yeah, if you don't really care for, keeping your games up to date and getting news wherever that game is updated and you get a little bit of a changelog right then and there on your library.
It's a damn shame that something called Lutris doesn't exist.
I know,
Lutris?
Right? But here's the thing. All of the Steam community stuff, like, I agree. If you don't like your stuff being tracked, I can see why you wouldn't like Steam. But at the same time, it's all very non-intrusive. It's not like they're using all that data to shoot advertisements right in your face. And, I mean, like Pedro said, really what it boils down to is proper multiplayer integration with Steam, with the Steam client and the Steam overlay is fantastic because I hit Shift Tab, I find whoever's playing the game, right click, join their game, done. That's how we do our trines, that's how we do our Left 4 Brads. It's great. And you know what? The Steam overlay, it was pretty bad, but it's gotten a lot better. And I just like having a little Verps counter up in the corner. It's handy, it's nifty, it's neat and useful for seeing how badly this game will actually perform.
Yeah. So up next, we have some other bit of very wordy hate mail. Anyone care to sum this up?
I'll do this. I'm slowly catching up on episodes, and I just saw episode 178 where you talk about Wasteland 2, and that European guy, the one not living in LA, talked about how bad it is that Wasteland 2 doesn't support Steam Workshop, and I think that's great. For one, Wasteland 2 is available on other platforms than Steam, GOG at least, and leveraging the Steam Workshop would be an unfair advantage for Steam purchasers, as some mods would undoubtedly be only released there. Secondly, Steam Workshop is a terrible mess for Skyrim mods. Not blah, 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 blah. If you want good mods, check out Nexus Mods, and he provides a URL. You can check that in the show notes. I don't know if this is the best or most extensive site for Wasteland 2 mods. It's not at all shady or whatever it was Pedro called it during the show. There's a pretty active community of modders, users, and creators to run by. From what I can tell, it's pretty stand-up guy. P.S. I'm supposed to say that I hate you guys, right? Okay, I hate you guys. Less than 3.
Yeah, Mr. Frezzo. Now, one thing I would like to contradict there is I did not say that Nexus Mods was shady. I made the
Pedro hates
implication
Nexus
that
Mods 2016 right now. Cut it. Print it. Wrap.
I made the implication that quite a few websites where you can usually find mods for games are very much shady. In fact, if I'm not misremembering, Jordan even interjected when I said that.
You honestly remember something from 20 weeks ago.
Yes. Jordan
I don't remember what I ate for
interjected.
breakfast, motherfucker. I don't believe you.
Jordan interjected to bring up the fact that Nexus Mods is like the third-party website that you use for mods. And I don't disagree with that. Nexus Mods is actually a very good and sort of reliable place. They've had their issues. They were hacked once, and it was kind of
that's any website that serves content, right?
Yeah.
You're basically running it's a calculated risk that no one's going to put sketchy shit on your site. And ultimately, so I just to stop you right there, I kind of disagree that it's a bad idea for people to be distributing mods via Steam Workshop, because number one, if you provide mod updates because you break functionality and whatnot, it'll get updated to all your users and so on and so forth. You're not going to get that so much with, say, Nexus Mods. But at the same time, there is absolutely nothing stopping anyone from posting their mods in multiple places. And if you're a mod maker, it's probably behooves you to do so, because you want more people to have access to your mods and more exposure, because that makes.
And that's the thing with the Steam Workshop is the whole updating thing. And so long as you're subscribed to that mod, if there's a new update, if there's a bug fix or something, you get it right then and there. And you don't get that with Nexus Mods. The only thing they have is that crappy .NET client, which doesn't even work properly with Wine. So
listen, man, .NET's open source. You can run it on Linux, man. Visual Studio and SQL Server.
Make a Linux client for their mod manager, maybe. But right now, Steam Workshop is the place to go for mods on Linux.
Send your hate mail to Pedro at LinuxGameCast.com, because on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Time. Type in time, Athens, Georgia, 9:30. You're going to find it. It's going to be brilliant. I'm Vin Stone. You can always find me at the Twitter that's at Vin Stone. Hit me up there. I will definitely get back to you 9 times out of 10. And plus Vin Stone on the G+.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me being horrifically sexy at The Burning Pool on Twitter, or plus Jordan Svung on the Google Plus.
So hot. I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me being generally a hateful person on just about every single social media, namely at unaccounted for. Yes, very entitled as well. At unaccounted for on Twitter, or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
So I guess Pedro should agree with me. I mean, let's just hope Dead Island Definitive Edition gets the multiplayer support, because we are fucking totally making that a Patreon thing, because it's going to be awesome.
Totally. Yeah, they really need to fix it.
I'm
You're already dead, Jordan. Die.
Sam 3. Jockey got me. Wait, wrong game.
Wrong game. Oh crap! I shot a suicider at point blank. I'm dead.
5 dudes.